Returning to our top story now, the international community is calling for an end to the escalating Israeli-Palestinian conflict after a deadly strike on a refugee camp and the destruction of a high-rise building in Gaza, housing Associated Press, Al Jazeera and other media outlets. Those working inside given just 1 hour to evacuate before 3 Israeli missiles struck. Let's bring in Professor Robert Patman from Otago University for context on today's developments. Kia ora, Professor Patman. Looking at the events of today, seeing a strike on a building housing media operations, what do you read into that?
Well, it's a deeply disturbing development. Al Jazeera and Associated Press have been in that building for something like 15 years, and the CEO of Associated Press, Gary Pruitt, challenged the Israeli government to produce the evidence that there were Hamas assets, as the Israeli government put it, in the building, and they're waiting for that evidence. So there is a sort of sub-story to this, or sidebar story, if you like, and that is that, you know, some of the scenes that are being captured by both Associated Press and Al Jazeera are having a bit of a blowback in terms of Israelis standing in the world. So there is a concern that maybe this is an attempt to sort of limit how much people can see in Gaza, but given the accessibility of mobile telephones, etc., I doubt whether that was the motivation.
And Professor Patman, this current conflict, it started around a month ago. It's been relatively quiet in the area for a couple of years. The feeling was this would fizzle out pretty quickly, but instead it's proving to be far-reaching and fast-paced. What's different this time?
I think what's different this time, and by the way, these rockets didn't come out of a clear blue sky. There were facilitating factors in Israel which led to this, led to Hamas sending rockets into Israel, and that was there was an incident near the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is a much revered place of worship in the Islamic world, where Palestinians where they were worshipping was stormed by Israeli security forces, and about 80 were hospitalised, and that seemed to be the spark that led to the rockets. What's different this time is the sheer number of rockets that Hamas are able to unleash, and secondly, this conflict has led to communal violence within Israel, something we haven't seen before.
Can you say what you think may happen this week, seeing as how things seem to be dramatically escalating?
Well, very difficult to say precisely what will happen, but we know that there's a UN Security Council meeting somewhat belatedly 1 week after this confrontation escalated. The meeting was delayed by the United States till Monday, our time, and hopefully they will call for an immediate ceasefire. It is absolutely crucial. If you look at the casualties, more than 10 Israelis dead, and 10 Israeli citizens, and more than 150 Palestinians in the Gaza Strip dead, about 30 to 40 of those children.
New Zealand has played an important role in 2016 when it sponsored a UN resolution. How do you think we could help now?
Well, I think we've been a little bit restrained so far. I think New Zealand needs to reaffirm its support for the resolution which it got successfully through the UN Security Council, Resolution 2334, which called for an end to the settlements of the West Bank by the Israelis, and also to halt the deepening control that Israel has over East Jerusalem. And the idea of that was to facilitate a two-state solution. That's been America's position officially, and it's certainly been New Zealand's diplomatic position, and it would be good if, on behalf of the countries outside of North America, that New Zealand spoke up in support of the two-state solution. It's absolutely urgently required.
Ngā mihi nui. Professor Robert Patman in Dunedin, thanks so much for your time tonight.
Thank you.